Are you trying to start a high-carb, low-fat diet and you want to lose weight and you're wondering, which should I include? Fruit versus starch? Which is better for weight loss? Well, let's talk about it. Hi everyone, my name is Hadley and welcome back to this channel. I started this channel in an effort to kind of combat low-carb diets, low-calorie diets, and calorie restriction all around. In today's video, like I said, I wanted to talk about which is better for fat loss, fruit versus starch. Well, first off, I want to kind of clarify what I mean by starch and what I mean by fruit. So when I'm talking about starch, I'm talking about your rice, your potatoes, your corn, your bread, your wheat products, which is bread, that kind of thing. And when I'm talking about starch, I'm talking about fresh fruits, like bananas and apples and that kind of thing. I'm talking about frozen fruit. I'm talking about canned fruit. So that is what I mean when I'm talking about starch versus fruit. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about how fruit versus starch is kind of handled and metabolized in the body. Okay, so when we take in starch, it breaks down into glucose, and that glucose requires insulin to come out, do its job, escort it into the cells. And during that time, when insulin is active and doing its job, we are not really able to burn fat, as insulin is a fat storing hormone. So that's one thing to note. Now, if you have good insulin sensitivity, this should not really be an issue because insulin will only come out for as a little time as needed and just kind of escort that glucose into the cell. But if you are a little bit insulin resistant, it's going to be harder for the insulin to put the glucose into the cell, simply because you just have an excess of fat in your bloodstream from eating a previous high-fat diet, more than likely, or possibly from calorie restriction. So how is fruit different than the way that glucose is, or that starch is metabolized? So when you take in fructose or fruit, or it contains fructose and glucose. So the fructose just goes directly into your liver. It does not need any help from insulin to escort it into the cells, thus meaning that you release a very small amount of insulin, or none at all, depending, in order to metabolize and get that fructose into your cells. Which, like I said, is a really good thing, because then you don't have insulin kind of hanging out and delaying or restricting your fat burning process. So that's kind of like, so if you are insulin resistant, or you're trying to really want to kind of push that the opposite way, and you want to become really insulin sensitive, fruit is a really good tool, food to utilize, just because you will not be releasing as much insulin, and it will also help with the fat burning process as well. Okay, so now that I have that out of the way, that little tidbit, I want to get into sustainability of fruit versus starch. Now, if you are the kind of person who has more of a savory craving over a sweet craving, you are probably going to do better on starches, simply because they are not as sweet as fruit is. Obviously, you can make all kinds of savory meals with starches. That might, if you are more of a savory person, that might be a better route for you to go down. Myself, I love sweet things. I've always loved sweet things. Ever since I was a kid, I was like a big time candy addict. So I love to get my fruit in. So that's what I do throughout the day. I will have fruit for breakfast, I will have fruit for lunch, and then I will have a savory kind of meal, like of rice or potatoes, that kind of thing, for supper. It's really up to your taste preferences. So what are you going to be able to sustain longer? You can't force yourself to eat a bunch of sweet stuff if that's not really what you want to do. You want to be able to enjoy your foods. You want to be able to enjoy your meals. You don't want to like be suffering or forcing yourself to do something that you really don't want to do, just because you think it will get you to your goal faster. Because if you force yourself into doing something, you're probably just going to be like, screw this, I'm just gonna go eat whatever, I don't care. So sustainability is a really big thing. You have to figure out like what kind of person you are, what your taste preferences are, and of course if you're coming from a standard American diet and you're trying to do this way of eating, your taste buds are definitely going to kind of change as you start introducing new foods and start excluding things like animal products and stuff like that, or like just high fat junk foods. So if you are coming from that perspective, you might want to like kind of give both a try to see which works better for you, and then just kind of go from there. Okay, so now that we've talked about sustainability, let's talk about what is more affordable. Because I know like a lot of people, things are really expensive compared to what they used to be, and especially fruit can be quite pricey. So, compared to starches. So you kind of got to like figure out, what your budget is and what you feel comfortable including, because there's nothing wrong with, eating starch all day if you really want to. I think it is important to get in those simple sugars from fruit, but there has been many cultures who have lived mainly on starches and have been very, very healthy and have lived long term. I always use the example of the Asians who, before the 1980s, 90% of their diet was white rice, and of course they were including vegetables and a little bit of soy product and fruit as snacks. So there's nothing wrong with eating starch all day. I prefer personally to start the day with fruit, just because I find starch is dehydrating, and I find the fruits to be really water rich and just kind of juicy and help kind of hydrate me on like almost like a different level. But that's just me. If you prefer to have oats or potatoes or rice, whatever, for breakfast, then that's great too. Again, it comes back to sustainability and affordability. So fruit can be quite pricey. I know here in Canada it can be kind of expensive. Like a melon can be like up to $10, which is crazy because like melons are not super high in calories. They're delicious, but that's not really a sustainable meal idea here in Canada. Bananas are decently priced. Like we buy a lot of bananas, and I do eat a lot of dates. I can get dates sometimes from places like Walmart where it's like $8 for 2 pounds, which is really, really great. But if I want like juicy, big, delicious medjool dates, then I'm looking at somewhere between $17 and $18 for 2 pounds, which might not be sustainable for a lot of people because that is quite pricey, especially if you plan on eating, sufficient calories in dates. That could become quite expensive. Whereas things like rice and potatoes and lentils and beans, those are still decently priced. Like I think you can get like a big bag of like lentils or beans dried for like $4 or something, and that's going to last and give you many, many meals. Same thing with rice. I think rice is still the cheapest per calorie, like cheapest way to get your a lot of calories in. That's also a good choice. And potatoes, like sweet potatoes are kind of crazy here. Like I don't know what they're like in the States. They can be quite expensive. Sometimes they're like $3 a pound or more. If you get them on sale, they're not too bad. But I love sweet potatoes. And my daughter loves sweet potatoes. So we kind of, it really all depends on where you're coming from. Like, is there anything you can give up in order to like have a healthier lifestyle? Like for me, we don't really go out to eat very often. We don't smoke, we don't drink. I don't really buy a whole lot of new clothes. I always try to buy secondhand, and I still try not to buy too much As you'll notice, I wear a lot of the same things because I I don't like clutter, first of all, but also it can be quite wasteful. So, you know, if you can find ways, if you really want to eat a bunch of fruit, or you want to, you know, have these higher priced items like mangoes and stuff, there's probably ways that you can attain that just by making some lifestyle tweaks. But if that's not what you want to do, that's totally fine too. Like I said, beans, potatoes, rice are all super great choices. They can be super satisfying, super delicious. You can make like very versatile too. Like there's so many recipes out there that you can, that are either high carb, low fat, or you can make high carb, low fat. It's normally pretty simple swap outs, like, you know, just omitting oil and stuff like that, or, you know, there's ways to kind of like get creative in the kitchen if you're if you're kind of into that. The other thing is, if you are not so much into cooking and you're super busy, fruit is the ultimate fast food for sure. You know, you don't have to cook it, you don't have to prep it, you don't have to do anything with it. If you're going to have bananas, you just grab a banana and go. So, I mean, that is a great thing about fruit as well. If you're not into cooking or making a bunch of dishes or anything like that, and it's all compostable, you don't have all that packaging possibly that comes along with, like, you know, starch, unless of course you're getting like organic bananas and they wrap it in plastic for some reason. I don't know. I don't get it, but yeah, so that's also another plus for fruit, is that it is super easy and super yeah, it's fast food. It's the original fast food basically. You can just grab it and go, and it's great. But yeah, affordability is a big one. I realize, and I know that things are really expensive, and like especially in the last couple of years. So, you know, if you're perfectly going to be perfectly fine having, you know, I would include a little bit of fruit obviously as like snacks and stuff, or even try to have like a fruit meal for your breakfast. But like if that's not in the cards for you, then 100% just eat starches because that's going to be cheap and sustainable and last a long time, and you don't have to wait for it to be prepped or ripen or anything like that. It's all just ready to go. Okay, so now that we've talked about affordability, yeah, so basically the point I'm trying to get at here is you have to figure out what works for you, what goes with your cravings, what goes with your taste buds, what goes with your budget, that kind of thing, in order for you to stick to it, which is the most important thing, and make this, you know, so you can make this into like a lifestyle and sustainable. Because obviously it's like, you know, if you start going to the gym and you're just like super excited and you start like going like 2 hours a day, or just doing like really extreme workouts and stuff, like you're not going to be able to sustain that. You have to find something that is going to work for you, and you can't force yourself to eat one way or the other. Yeah, so that's basically it. The fastest way to lose weight, or to get to your goals, performance goals, weight loss goals, whichever, is to find a diet and to find a way of eating that is going to be sustainable for you. For me, that looks like fruit for breakfast, fruit for lunch, I keep wanting to say fruit for supper, but starches for supper, starches and greens for supper. Not to say that I don't include starches once in a while in the middle of the day, like for a lunch meal, because sometimes I just have like a potato craving, or sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm all fruited out. I'm done with the fruit for today, which is totally fine. So you can just like switch to starches or whatever you find most sustainable for you. Like, I sound like a broken record because I've been saying this over and over again, but the only way to stay consistent is if you can find something that you can maintain, right? Yeah, so in conclusion, if you're looking for ultimate quick insulin sensitivity, going with fruit is going to get you there faster than eating starches is. And if you're interested in learning more about that, I would highly recommend this book. I realize that it's backwards, but it's called Turning Off the Fat Genes by Dr. Neil Barnard. He also talks about this in his book. I think it's in page, like, let's see here. See if I can find that little blurb about the special effects of fruit here. I'll just kind of read this. because it kind of goes along with what I'm saying. Fruit gives you a special benefit. Its natural sugar, fructose, delivers a especially good burn. It works even if your insulin is not working well, because fructose is rapidly metabolized in the liver and enters these cells without any help from insulin at all. So while you are waiting for your insulin function to improve, you can get a great burn right now from bringing plenty of fresh fruit to your diet. So this book is a really great guide for becoming insulin sensitive, learning how carbohydrates work within the body. Yeah, I really like this book. It's great, so I would highly recommend checking that out. But yeah, so like I said, fruit is going to help you, keep you in fat burning mode longer. Because it doesn't require the insulin. But again, you need to find something that's sustainable, something that you can sustain long term, that you can be consistent with, and that's going to get you to your goals. And of course, you need to make sure that you are eating enough, and if you are not able to access enough fruit, then you're going to undereat, and you're going to either damage your metabolism by not eating enough, or just end up like binging on something because you're so hungry. And we don't want that. We don't want binge eating. We want to eat in abundance, and we want to be full and satisfied. Okay, so I think that is it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, just leave a comment or like, or subscribe if you're interested. And yeah, thank you for watching, and take very good care. Bye.